such a short time, I thought what I would do was focus more on the broad philosophical and kind of fundamental existential reasons why we are in politics and what that means to us and why we would like to run the government. I have a whole lot of information as well as specific ideas around different components of growth, development, the next trajectory and so forth, which I'm happy to address when it comes around to the Q&A. But I think it's very important for me to set the tone. Why does the DMK exist? Who are we? And why are we here? Really, you must go back 102 years to the founding of the SILF, the Justice Party, the Dravidian movement as we now know it. It is the philosophy that has kind of motivated the majority of the governing administrations of first the Madras Presidency, then undivided Madras State, then divided Madras State, and now the state of Tamil Nadu for the bulk of the last 100 years. The period that was not governed by at least a professed adherent to the Dravidian philosophy was run by the Congress for about 20-30 years in between. It is a testament to the validity of the philosophy of the Dravidian movement that multiple senior Congress leaders, starting with Mr. Rajaji, going through Mr. Kamraj, and my own Chinnatata, Mr. Bhaktavachalam, actually broke away from the norms of the Congress party in an Indian context, and the Tamil Nadu or Madras Congress actually was substantially different, noticeably different, and took on some of the values of the Dravidian movement. I'll just give you 3 examples. After the nationalization of temples in the Justice Party government in 1926, when Rajaji ran the government in the 30s, not only did he not denationalize the temples, he signed the Temple Entry Act to bring Dalits into the temples. Following the Justice Party's introduction of legislation in 1920 and 21 for compulsory elementary education for boys and girls, and the free noon meal scheme in Madras Corporation to ensure compliance with compulsory education, through Kamraj expanded those schemes significantly to all education and all schools, all poor children all over the state. And Mr. Bhaktavachalam, known as he is for his Hindi riot problem, was, along with my grandfather, instrumental in making sure that Archanas were said in Tamil in all the major temples of Tamil Nadu. So, the philosophy of the Dravidian movement found significant adherence even among its opponents. What is the track record of this? I have argued for 4 years now in the Assembly with statistical proof, with documentation, graphs, tables, that the state of Tamil Nadu's finances and therefore growth have been really badly damaged in the last 3 to 5 years. I'm happy to share that. It's on public record. I've submitted it to the Deputy Chief Minister now, the then Finance Minister Mr. Jayakumar, before him Finance Minister Mr. OPS. But it is worth noting that after these 3-4 years of this kind of decline, Tamil Nadu is still in a very unique place today. I just want to give you a couple of statistics. If I look at any broad measure of development that includes per capita income, social development index, infrastructure, etc., Tamil Nadu stands in a league of its own, so much so that many places they call it the Tamil Nadu model, which I argue whenever I go is actually the Dravidian model. But here are the outcomes of the Dravidian model. In 2016, the average citizen in Tamil Nadu, 50.6% chance it's a female. Average age, 31 years old. We're below replacement rate of birth. We've got population under control, too much under control. Average education, high school graduate. Per capita income, around 2 lakhs a year. Gross enrollment ratio in higher education, 46%. And literacy rate for young women between the ages of 10 and 20, almost 100%. That is Tamil Nadu. I compare that to the other extreme, Bihar. Bihar, average citizen has only a 48% chance of being female. You can infer what that means about infanticide. Birth rates still above 3 total fertility rate. Therefore, the average age is only 19. Average education for a 19-year-old is an elementary school dropout. Per capita income is 45,000 rupees. The gross enrollment ratio in higher education is 12%, and illiteracy among girls 10 to 20 is 30% or above. That's how stark the differences are. I see this as both a tribute to the philosophy of our movement and their achievements, and in that I will broad-mindedly and with data include Mr. MJR and Ms. Jayalalitha as basic adherents to the Dravidian philosophy. But it is also one of the biggest dangers we face today. We are a country that has a constitutional design that vests a lot of power in the central government inherently, and yet we are such a diverse country. I've just given you just current statistics. Go back to thousands of years of culture, language, other differences. We are, as the Economist magazine put it, a continent masquerading as a country. So, what is our basic philosophy for being in politics and what is our vision? Our core beliefs have stayed the same: self-respect, secularism, social justice, equality of opportunity, and a federal model. I can go into details of what those mean in different sectors when I get a chance, but there are big building blocks to these philosophies that we worry about. The first and foremost is the extent of federalism and whether or not we'll get the powers devolved to the states as they should be, given how much differences we have. Second, we are fundamentally secularists. We know the difference between atheists who don't care about any religion and therefore don't care about how anything is administered. We know fanatics who think only their religion is the right religion. And we know true believers like me, my father, my grandfather, my great-grandfather, who have such great faith in our own religion that we want everybody else to be able to exercise their faith without interference from the state. These philosophies have stayed the same for 100 years, and our leader, Thiru Stalin, has reiterated them at every opportunity, including the day he took office as the president and the day of his birthday. I'll leave you with one last thought. As I said in a different debate with my friend Mr. Rajan about a week ago, a few days ago, I think this election should be about three things. The first thing, what has been the track record of this government in management of the economy, of the polity, of finances, of programs? Have they delivered what they said they would in the cesses, in the swatches, in the fishes? Have they improved growth or hindered it through things like demonetization and GST? Have they changed the ratio of what are inherently fair taxes like progressive direct taxes to indirect taxes in a good way or a bad way? The answer is in a bad way. And have they been able to get GDP growth to the right place or not? Second, what kind of values do we want in our administration? Do we want a secular government? Do we want a federalist government? Do we want somebody who holds lynchings accountable? Do we want people who give freedom for different cultures, for Jallikattu? Do we want somebody who's trying instead to impose a one nation, one standard all over, from NEET, from the Finance Commission, which is continuously taking money away from well-to-do states and not getting any output for it? And finally, what kind of democracy do we want? Do we want a democracy where every level of government is actually elected in place? Or do we want a democracy where in Tamil Nadu 5.5 crore voters have not had a local body government for 2 years, 5 million voters have not had an MLA for 18 months, where power is consolidated, where institutions are destroyed, where consolidation happens in the hands of one or two men? This should be the basis that you should decide what future you want for this country and how you want to vote. Thank you for the time.